Hello, hello. How's it going, folks? Welcome to Drinking with the Boys, episode 5. I am Corey Stevens, your host. Thanks for joining us today. If you're a Cowboys fan, this is a Tuesday, September 11th. It's not a real happy day because a couple days ago the Cowboys played the Carolina Panthers and Carolina won 16-8. It was a road game. Our defense did play pretty well, so there are some positives, but overall, definitely needs some improvement. I want to talk about some of the other NFL games that were going on this week, and then we'll get into the Cowboys game. So last night, Monday Night Football, Oakland Raiders and the St. Louis Rams. No, the LA Rams. The Oakland Raiders definitely could have used Khalil Mack. Let's put that out there. Khalil Mack was looking like a stud for the Bears. Oakland Raiders could not beat the Rams, but Marshawn Lynch was trying his damnedest. There was a play, I think it was about 10-yard line. He takes the entire Rams defense practically into the end zone, driving his legs. He's got about 4 people trying to bring him down. There was literally a Rams player who jumped on top of the pile, and that, add 250 pounds or whatever that was, no effect. He just kept on churning. So Marshawn Lynch, you win the Beast Mode award this week. You deserve it. Least mode might go to one of the Cowboys players. We'll see about that. Least mode actually probably goes to Eric Flowers, the right tackle for the New York Giants. That guy, I think, is a former first-round pick, and he just is so exposed. But, we'll talk about that later. The other game last night was Sam Darnold and the Jets versus Matt Stafford and the Detroit Lions. Sam Darnold, just like Brett Favre, threw his first NFL pass was a pick six. Now, that's pretty good company to be in, right? So, unlike Brett Favre, Sam Darnold has not thrown 450 career touchdown passes, but he started off good. First career game, I think he had 4 touchdown passes. He showed excellent mobility, accuracy on deep balls, lots of arm strength, really good. Definitely does not look scared by the speed of the NFL. Looks like the real deal. Sam Darnold out of USC. So the Jets got him a good one, and some people were talking about the Jets as, hey, can they take the step? They've been 5-11, I think, for 2 straight years. Yes, the answer is absolutely yes. The Jets could be 8-8. They could take that step to be on the edge, knocking on the edge of the playoffs. On the other end, Matt Stafford had 4 interceptions, I think, and that was pretty ugly. So speaking of Packers quarterbacks, Brett Favre being the comparison there with the statistical anomaly that he and Sam Darnold share, Aaron Rodgers did Aaron Rodgers things. Sunday Night Football, Bears, Packers, Khalil Mack is just tearing up the place. He's got sacks, he's forcing fumbles, he's recovering fumbles, interceptions for touchdown, I think. Khalil Mack was everywhere, and he was looking like, boom, Bears defense is back. This is going to be the new deal, monster of the Midway kind of thing. And second half, so Aaron Rodgers went down with a knee injury and was carted off the field, clearly hurt. He comes back by some miracle. I think the miracle is simply modern-day medicine. Got shot up with a few drugs. Comes back. Leads them 3 touchdowns. Packers win. His post-game interview on the field, he was clearly on something. I think those painkillers had him feeling a little bit loopy, if you know what I'm saying. So, what we say? New York Giants. Yeah, so Giants lost. That's important for the Cowboys because the Giants and Cowboys play next week. The offensive line for the Giants wasn't looking so great. Saquon Barkley really didn't have a great game. and Eli couldn't be accurate because they didn't give him time. Odell had 100 yards receiving, but so he was looking pretty good. But Jacksonville definitely looking like a quality team still. Not sure if I saw Super Bowl team when I saw some of that, but definitely a quality team in the AFC for Jacksonville. So let's hop into the Cowboys game. Most of the commentary this week is about Scott Linehan. Scott Linehan being our offensive coordinator, Jason Garrett's hand-picked offensive coordinator. He's picking Kellen Moore as our QB coach. Scott Linehan is a dinosaur and needs to go. Let's just put it out like that. The offensive play calling looks they don't successfully employ Dak running the ball. They couldn't get Zeke going. He only had 15 carries. And the passing game, I see some of these late, these fourth quarter pass route combos, and it's all comebacks. It's all the stopping, it's all curls. This is not creative at all. It was a third down, as a key third down late in the game, and we've got nothing. We've got no creativity. Look, I'm not going to say I watched the All-22 film. I'm not going to say that I saw, charted every single pass route and looked at, could the Cowboys receivers get separation? Yeah. On one play, they left the tight end all the way open and he couldn't hit him. I think it was Blake Jarwin. Dak threw it to his feet. Michael Gallup was open on the crossing route and he put it behind him. He couldn't make the catch. So yes, I think the offensive creativity was lacking, but that's just how the Cowboys are. The thing is that the Cowboys rely on execution, and we couldn't establish a run game. So there goes our game. Like, essentially, if we can't establish a run game successfully, get Zeke rumbling down the field, then we've pretty much got nothing, because that's basically the only way we win these days. So post game, Scott Linehan and Jerry Jones both slipped out and didn't talk to the media. Stephen Jones, he did talk to the media. Someone asked him, "Hey, so Troy Aikman commented on air during the broadcast, saying that there was a lack of creativity in the offensive play calling. What do you think about that?" Stephen Jones says, anybody can be an armchair QB these days. We're just going to look at... What? Stephen, are you even watching the tape? Are you even paying attention to the question? This is Troy fucking Aikman, He got you 3 Super Bowls. He's not an armchair QB. Listen to him. Maybe he's got something good to say. So offense needed work. The defense wasn't really bad at all. They had a lot of missed tackles. That was definitely the sore spot. We couldn't bring Cam Newton down in the option. It was a lot of read option. Cam Newton was running for about 70 yards, I think, in the first half. That was inexcusable. Sean Lee had 4 missed tackles himself. So missed tackles were a huge problem for the Cowboys defense. But overall, you hold the Panthers to 16 points, and that's not that bad. We had to, force a key fumble near the goal line. If we didn't do that, that's clearly an opportunity where the Panthers could have scored another touchdown, and it would have looked even worse. But I think in general, Cam didn't have a whole lot of passing yards, so our secondary was doing pretty good. If you look at Zeke had 15 carries for 69 yards, which is pretty nice if you ask me. No. So he had 1 touchdown for 17 yards. If you take away, usually when I'm looking at running back stats, I always take away their long. So that's always how it's listed, carries, yardage, yards per carry, how many touchdowns, and then it's got your long. So his longest was 17. If you take away the 17, he's still got 14 for 57 or whatever that is, and it comes out at 3.7 yards per carry. So even if you take out his best run, he's still, and 3.7 is not great, but it is not the world's worst. 4.6 yards per carry for the game is quite respectable. So, we didn't, truly, I think we needed to feed him more, but he wasn't doing all that well, but it wasn't terrible. We just, and you think about that pass out to the right, where he got tripped up by the linebacker safety. Those are things that you need to not get tackled on something like that. You're way up, you catch a pass out on the right. You need to turn that for a 20-yard gain, turn on your jets and show a little bit more power. He didn't do that game. I think, you look at historically, his first season and second season, he got off to some shaky starts. So this might be something where the rust is taken off soon. It might also be something where we really need to check, we really need to look at the season of, does he still have the boost? Does he still have the ability to turn on the jets like he did his first year, like he did in college? One of the guys who did turn on the jets was Saquon Barkley. If you take away his long, he had an even worse day. But I think it was mostly due to the Giants blocking. And when he did get out, he goes for 68 yards and a touchdown. That's turning on the jets. So, we're going to compare Zeke and Saquon. They're kind of regarded as the two best running backs in the NFC right now. The Leonard Fournette and Le'Veon Bell, those are over in the AFC. Saquon and Zeke and Todd Gurley in the NFC, they're going to match up. They're not going to play each other, but they're going to match up next week, and we'll see who can win the day. I think about the Cowboys' offensive play calling and some of their personnel sets. They had, I think Michael Gallup only got 19 plays out there, only thrown to a couple times. Deontay Thompson had, I think, the second most or third most, but Deontay Thompson had way more snaps than I think he deserves. He's essentially the Cowboys' sixth best wide receiver, and he was out there a lot. Cole Beasley had the most passing yards or receiving yards in that game, 70-something. And Allen Hurns didn't show us much. Terrence Williams was a non-factor completely. Gallup was a non-factor. So I think the usage of the receivers can definitely be called into question. Cowboys gave up 6 sacks. That's definitely not good. We look at who's responsible. One of those, at least one of those, Connor Williams, was getting bull rushed by a really good defensive tackle, I think Dontario Poe. So that's one of those things where, welcome to the NFL, kid. You can't. Sometimes the defensive tackle is better than you, But there's somebody on Twitter who showed all of the weights listed for the offensive guards, the offensive linemen in the NFL, and Connor Williams is the lightest guard in the NFL. So I think he comes in, his weight is about 300 pounds. NFL guards are all going to be 310, 320. It might not seem significant, but that's 10, 15 pounds of muscle. That's what Connor Williams lacks right now. He wasn't out there. He wasn't single-handedly pulling in Chaz Green. He wasn't single-handedly losing him the game, giving up 5 sacks, whatever Chaz Green did against Atlanta. But he was a liability at times, and we got to fix that. So definitely needs to work on that lower body anchor strength. If you want to look at some of the other rookies this year, someone like Quentin Nelson picked in the top 10 of the draft out of Notre Dame, I believe. He's playing for the Colts, and he had a really good game. The Colts also had, I think they picked another lineman, Braden Smith, who was just a backup, and he did get in one play and gave up a sack, I think. I think Braden Smith was picked second round. So if you look at some of the other offensive linemen that were picked in the 2018 NFL Draft this April, you look at Frank Ragnow. I forget who he's playing for, but he played for Arkansas, I believe, in college. He was picked late 20s, offensive lineman, late 20s of the first round. He was kind of up and down, but down several times, got schooled. You look at, I think, you know what, that was Detroit Lions who picked him. You look at Will Hernandez, top of the second round. He was picked by the New York Giants. I think the general consensus is that he had a pretty good day a couple days ago on Sunday. Was actually, compared to some of his peers on the Giants offensive line, he was looking pretty good. Colton Miller, offensive lineman from UCLA, was picked by the Raiders. He wasn't looking bad at all either. So, Connor Williams, people want to say he had a first-round grade, and yes, we picked him in the second round, middle of the second round, but if that's his comps, it's several, one glaring example, Will Hernandez, who, Cowboys could have had instead of, maybe pick him late first round instead of Leighton Vander Esch, and might be looking pretty good there, but so, he's going to be compared to a lot of good players, and he's up his game. I already mentioned Saquon and Zeke, both not the greatest of games. Saquon did have that 1 long touchdown run, but I think next week, obviously, that'll be the big focus. They're gonna mark my words, gonna show a graphic on the telecast of how many yards does Zeke have, how many yards does Saquon have, even though they're not going against each other. Zeke needs to have a great year. People are expecting good things out of Saquon as well in New York. So, for the Cowboys' sake, let's hope that he wins that matchup. Turning on the Jets, speaking of that, Sam Darnold, so we already mentioned, he is looking amazing. That's your third pick in the NFL draft this year. If you're a Cowboys fan, you wish that you had a Sam Darnold. Because as much as I like Dak, and I think he's got leadership. I think he's built really well, so I don't think he's injury risk at all. And he can definitely make plays with his feet. He's no Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is already schooling him. You look at some of the other targets potentially that the Cowboys could have had. One that was picked just a couple picks ahead of the Cowboys, Derwin James by the the LA Chargers. Derwin James was looking really good out there. Safety out of Florida State. He was one that a lot of pre-draft said, hey, he's probably going to be picked a little bit ahead, but if the Cowboys are saying, hey, safety's one of our weak spots, and it wasn't exposed, and we're hoping that Xavier Woods comes back next week, but if I want a playmaking safety out there who can defend against Odell Beckham next week, Derwin James would have looked pretty good. Cowboys would have had to move up a little bit in the draft to pick him, but in one of the safeties that was picked right after the Cowboys picked Terrell Edmonds, who played 74 snaps out there, dude. So Steelers got them a safety from Virginia Tech that they feel can be a starter from day one, and I think the consensus is he played pretty well. Not perfect, but pretty well. On the wide receiver front, the Cowboys, that was one of the big draft needs, and we picked Gallup in the third round. And I think we got good value for Gallup in the third round. We do actually have to use him. Something about offensive coordinators in the NFL, they don't want to use their rookie wide receivers, I guess. You look at the Thursday night game, Calvin Ridley for the Atlanta Falcons. 0 catches maybe, or really very little impact. You look at DJ Moore for the Carolina Panthers. I think he was out there for only like 15 snaps or something. Very little impact. Christian Kirk, only one catch for 4 yards. Christian Kirk, wide receiver out of Texas A&M, went to the Arizona Cardinals. Christian Kirk had a pretty good punt return. If he breaks one more tackle, he's gone for a touchdown. So he did show off some of his playmaking ability. Overall, you look up and down. There was really no. Jalen Smith was pretty invisible. was kind of disappointed in that. I didn't see a whole lot from him on the defense. Tank Lawrence had a sack. I think Taco Charlton had a sack as well. The defensive line for the Cowboys could have been better. I think they did get pressure on Cam a few times. They just couldn't bring him down. You look at the offensive side of the ball, it just comes down to can we at all stretch the field? Can we get some play? Can we get past plays down the field a little bit? Can we run routes that aren't just 10-yard curls? We're going right at the cornerback, turn around, and they're all over us. Can we run any route combos at all? A little bit of rubbing and scraping and trying to create some separation, combo crossing routes and stuff. You look at the Chiefs, and even on the run game, they've got very unique kind of wishbone-y looking wide receivers off the line of scrimmage, tight ends up, and then multiple misdirections in the backfield and different quick toss to the left. Even creativity in the run game is lacking. So I still think that Zeke can have a better game. He's rarely ever been held under 80 yards. This was one of those. The Panthers have a good defense. Let's be honest about that. So, the Panthers made the playoffs last year, so let's not assume that they're some easy team. The New York Giants did not make the playoffs last year. Let's be real about that. So, New York Giants come to town. We've got a home field advantage this time, and somebody we've seen over and over. I think, their defensive line is not nearly as stout right in the middle. They don't have a Luke Kuechly. No one has a Luke Kuechly. He's the best linebacker in the NFL probably. I think that the Cowboys had plenty of opportunity but squandered them, and so that's what comes down in the NFL. You got a couple of those plays that either make you or break you, and the Cowboys couldn't make those plays, so they ended up scoring only 8 points. So that definitely needs to be improved. If the Cowboys start 0-2, we're looking at very, very, very little chance of making the playoffs. So absolutely crucial, especially compared to Washington getting a good win, Philadelphia having a good win. We can't be fourth in the NFC West to start the season after 2 games. So we definitely got to get a win against the Giants. I think there's potential, but I think it comes down to Scott Linehan play calling. So I want to get into a little bit of beer drinking because this is Drinking with the Boys, right? One of my favorite breweries is Pegasus City. Pegasus City Brewery is over on Vantage Street. They're over by Irving Boulevard. They've only been in Dallas for a year and a half, but I think they're making good beer. They definitely, I can drink pretty much any beer. Pretty happy with very hoppy. Pretty happy with a porter or a stout on a cold day. Definitely an amber ale. Right in the middle is my sweet spot, and I often tend towards the lighter beers in the summer, lighter craft beers. Pegasus City, they definitely go towards the easy drinking spectrum. They say their beers are porch approved and, good for just drinking on a porch, sipping. Don't think too much about the beer. Think about who you're spending time with or whatever. But so, I've got their Texarkana black lager. So it is a lager, a little bit like a Mexican lager, tiny bit like that, but black. So clearly some roasted malts in there, and a little bit of a German yeast. So definitely a little bit German, kind of like a Czech or a Munich lager, but still dark colored, easy drinking. That's what I've got with me right now. Definitely maybe like Negro Modelo Especial their dark one. So just easy drinking dark beer, kind of like a Shiner, but maybe not quite as much of that German Bock flavor. One of the first ones that I ever had, I think the first beer that I ever tried was their Cannoneer Amber, and this is probably my favorite on their lineup. It's actually 7.4%. So it's a little stronger. They actually call it a bold amber. It's just it hits the spot for me. They've got this definitely not too hoppy, definitely not too heavy, even though a little bit high gravity. Whatever it is about their mix of malts and hops, the aroma just does it for me. And just enough alcohol to get you going, but definitely flavor packed. So if you're ever over near the Brewery District on the west side of downtown, I recommend checking out Pegasus City. They're some good people, and they're making some good porch-approved beers. Hope you enjoyed episode 5 of Drinking with the Boys. That's all I got for you today. The Cowboys, like we mentioned, they got a Sunday night game against the Giants at home coming up. Starting 0-1, not off to a great start, but definitely is not something that we can't fix things on the offense right away, hopefully, and get a win. And hope you enjoyed the look around at some of the other draft picks, some of the other rookies, and how they're performing compared to some of the Cowboys rookies. And Leighton Vander Esch, we didn't even talk about the Cowboys' first-round pick because he hasn't really seen the field yet due to injury, but maybe later in the year he'll get a few snaps. So yeah, it's shaping up to be a good NFL season, and hope you have a good week. And obviously, we'll give you some pregame content just like I did. Find us on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. Facebook and Instagram is Drinking with the Boys. You just spell it out, Drinking with no G, and then on Twitter it's DRNKNW the Boys. So I was doing a little pregame on Twitter, Periscope on Twitter there, and then a little bit of Facebook Live. Appreciate everyone who commented, liked that. So obviously I'll keep giving it to you since you're watching. So I appreciate that. Share it. It means a lot to me. On Instagram, you're gonna get some good, nice little photos there. Find it, Drinking with the Boys on Instagram. So you can find me on Podbean. You can find me on Spotify. You can find me pretty much anywhere. drinkingwiththeboys.podbean.com is a good place to go. Y'all have a great day. Have a good week. And go Cowboys.